Hey everybody, so this is the last day of the D23 Expo for 2019. The next D23 Expo happens in 2021. It's in the books, it's done. Day one, a lot of
This
stuff.
is a story about a magical place.
Day one was all about the Disney Plus streaming service. Day two was all about the new movies, which was an interesting take because over the last other D23 expos, they've split animation and live action apart. And this year, they opted to do live action and animation together and not to announce stuff that was really, really far out. And that was also super prominent with the parks panel. The parks panel in previous years had announced stuff so far out that things had changed or the budget got cut or whatever the situation was. So things that they announced at D23 panels in the past never made it to fruition. And that wasn't the case today. Today, the case was that they were announcing a lot of things that were happening in the next 12 to 24 months so that you wouldn't have to wait too long to get some of these things. And it looks like a lot of these things may not change as much as, we have seen in the past. Like the Disney World Fantasyland got radically changed. Star Wars Galaxy's Edge had this whole idea about this immersive feature and like bounty hunters following you and like all of that kind of got nixed. And there was also supposed to be, I believe, a third ride at Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. And, of course, that didn't happen. So all of the stuff that got announced today at the parks panel, and we're going to go through a lot of it, seems really tangible. But let me know your guys' thoughts about the theme parks as we're going through some of the stuff. Because there's a lot. Some of you, I'm sure, are more... Some of you, I'm sure, are more Disneyland-based or Walt Disney World-based or international parks-based, whatever, you think is something that is a hot topic for you. Chime in the chat, or if you're watching this live stream after the fact, chime in down below. I'd love to know your thoughts about all of the announcements or some of the announcements that really hit home for you. There's a lot to go through, so let's get started with this. I'm going to break things down almost park by park or... we're going to go through all the international stuff kind of at the same time, do all the cruise stuff at the same time. But the first thing I want to talk about, and something that I think is a real sleeper thing that they just kind of snuck in there for this panel, but I think will be a huge moneymaker for Disney and also something that will change the landscape of how people see Disney over the next few years is going to be this Disney and Target partnership. The only products thing that they brought up for this parks and product panel was this partnership with Target, where they were going to be infusing Disney stores into Target. And in fact, Target is the other thing that they added was that Target is going to build a Target store onto Walt Disney World property. But Target, I believe in the next year, they will have at least 40 stores in the U.S. that will have a Disney store within a Target store. And that is pretty huge. That's bringing a lot of people who don't have the mall. And, of course, the mall is kind of a dying off idea anyway. There's so many malls that have closed down over the past decade or so. So this is making sure that the Disney store stays alive even in the years of the dying malls. I think this is huge. This is a huge money deal for both parties. I'm sure Target is going to make a ton of money off of all this Disney licensing and property, and Disney is going to make more money off of products than they've ever made before because more people are going to be able to get a Disney store in their area. I think like in Denver, which is a pretty big city that I live in, I believe that there are 2 Disney stores in this entire city, and we're like a top 10 biggest city in the US. So this is now going to bring, more Disney stores. And that's not to say that, they'll have, I think 40 open in the next year, but they're going to have even more open as time goes on. So I think their end goal is to have a Disney store within every Target, which is insane. And hopefully that goes international. I know some of our Canadian friends don't have Target, so maybe Target will come back because Disney wants to reach you. Hopefully that's the case. But let's jump into more park stuff. Let's start at Disneyland. Disneyland, kind of my home park. We lived in California for a couple of years. I love Disneyland. And they announced really three things at Disneyland. They announced a brand new daytime... Sorry, guys, it's running real late. I've actually got my coffee here to hopefully get me through this. A brand new daytime parade called Magic Happens. They showed off 3 floats in particular for this Magic Happens parade. They showed off a Sleeping Beauty float, which was really cool, but they also showed off this really awesome Moana float. And this reminds me a lot of the Fantasy Parade over at Magic Kingdom and Walt Disney World. Just the ginormous floats and these beautiful floats that, I mean, I've loved the daytime parade at Disneyland for a long time. It's fun. It's all about music. There's all these drums, but they're not as, what would you say, like vibrant and colorful, and not as movie centric or IP centric as these floats are. So you get the Moana one. We've also got this amazing Coco one that is coming. It's so beautiful. And I'm overwhelmed to hopefully see these live in person. This Coco one especially is just, I don't have words. Like all of the marigolds that are coming down. And I actually hope, I know it looks like there might be, 3 actors on board playing these 3 characters. And I'm assuming that, we'll have Dante be more of an animatronic kind of thing. But I actually kind of hope that the 2 characters up on stage are more like puppets. That just seems like a really cool, like marionette kind of showcase to me. I don't know what you guys think, but I'm excited about that. But that wasn't all. Beyond the parade, which was kind of the smallest thing that they announced, they also announced what has already been in discussions. There are walls up. We already knew that a Marvel-themed land was coming, but now they've officially announced that this land is called the Avengers Campus. And it will take up the old Bugs Land area, and it looks like this great little walkway back between Hollywoodland and kind of the main thoroughfare at Disney's California Adventure Park. For those who have not been to California Adventure, this space is actually quite small. The old Bugs, It's Tough to Be a Bug Theater is now turning into this web building that is going to house a Spider-Man attraction where you're going to get a web slinger shooter type of thing to catch all of these little tiny spider bots that have been let loose. And like, this idea is fine, but it didn't scream like a super e-ticket attraction to me. Especially in the same park, they already have Toy Story Mania just across at Disneyland. They have Buzz Lightyear's Space Ranger spin, or Astro Blasters. I guess it depends on what park that you're in, which one you get. But this wasn't like the blow-away thing for me, but they did announce that a Phase 2 is going to come. Phase 1 of this park, of this land, is going to be this, as well as a Doctor Strange showcase that's going to be where they teach you the mystic arts. I don't know if that's going to be similar to what they've done in the past with Star Wars, bringing kids up to learn how to battle with lightsabers. But I'm actually interested to see like what the mystic arts does. And this was an interesting thing too, because before, 2 years ago, when they announced a Marvel Land, that they talked about a micro brewery coming that was themed to Ant-Man, and micro being, that it's small, but they would actually have blown up a giant beer can, and you would be able to go and have beers in the microbrewery. But that has changed, and it has now become the PIM Test Kitchen. Still, it is going to be Ant-Man and the Wasp themed, but it is going to not just be for alcohol anymore. It's going to be an entire restaurant that is going to have foods that have been shrunk down or that have been blown up. I'm super excited to see like what the menu for this restaurant looks like. I think that this might have been one of my favorite announcements for the Disneyland Resort. This restaurant may be my new go-to thing at California Adventure if this is really what we're going to be getting. Super excited about all of that. And I don't know what you guys think about restaurants or stores taking up space. I actually love lands that just have a vibe. I don't really need like huge giant attractions everywhere I go. I'm super excited for phase 2 with that Avengers attraction, and that Avengers attraction will be taking us to Wakanda. But just the idea to go through this campus, sit down and eat maybe a micro burger or a giant burger or something, and take in the atmosphere as people are meeting some of their favorite superheroes, that excites me so much. I'm all about atmosphere, and I feel like this could bring some really, really cool atmosphere. And you saw like in the picture, there's like a little patio area as well. Love patios. Definitely love that. And the last thing that's happening over the Disneyland Resort, back in Toontown, we knew we were going to get Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, which will be opening up at the not at the Magic Kingdom, at the Hollywood Studios Park, that is going to be with the grand Chinese theater entrance, which is going to look beautiful and amazing, and they did show that, but we didn't know what we were going to get at Disneyland, and this shows it off. They've created the Elcapitan Theatre, which is of course a riff on the Elcapitan Theatre, the Disney-owned theater that is up on Hollywood Boulevard, that's right across the street from the Chinese theater. This looks like a fun, cute little addition to Toontown. Toontown, for those of you who have not been to Disneyland, is small, it's tiny, it's really colorful, it's very kid-centric, and this looks a little bit more adult than most of the stuff that's in Toontown. So I'm excited to see if maybe they also do a full revamp of Toontown as well to go along with this. But very excited to see the outside of this, and I'm hoping that we get more details on the inside of the actual attraction and what happens there. And like I said, this is the same attraction that is going to go to Walt Disney World's Hollywood Studios, but the Hollywood Studios version will open up next year, and I believe this will open up in 2021. Brittany in the chat says Toontown has needed an upgrade for years. This will be a great addition. I completely agree. I think that Toontown has been neglected. They've kept up with some of the paint jobs, which is nice, but that's really about it. Toontown has been pretty much the same since it opened in the mid 90s. And so it's been, over 20 years of just sitting pretty much just as it has been. Caleb chimed in and said, micro pizza, all the salt, none of the stomach ache. I hope I want some micro pizzas. Bring it on. I actually don't want a micro pizza. I want like a macro giant blown up pizza. Like if I can get like a 60-inch pizza, fantastic. I really want that over in the Avengers Campus. That seems so cool. I'm so excited for that. Jumping into some international news though, there is a ton of stuff going on internationally as well. And for those of you who are not people that venture outside of the US, I think that some of this stuff is exciting because we may also be seeing some of this stuff come to the US parks. Based on the idea that, we've seen the Ratatouille ride is now coming to Epcot, and a couple other things that, we'll get to Epcot later. There's a lot going on there, but we're getting the first ever hotel that is Marvel themed. That is the Hotel New York, which already exists at Disneyland Paris, but they're getting an Art of Marvel revamp. This looks like a Spider-Man room, but there are going to be plenty of rooms that will be themed to different characters. So obviously in this one you see Spider-Man, but you also see Doc Ock. There's also going to be Captain America rooms, Iron Man rooms, etc. That's exciting that we're going to get a Marvel hotel. I don't know if it's as exciting as the Star Wars hotel that we'll be talking about a little bit later at Walt Disney World, but this is a nice touch. I love the kind of modern, upbeat look of this, and I would be excited to stay at this if I go to Disneyland Paris, although I think it's probably out of my price range realistically. but I would love to do it. We also got word Hong Kong is going to be changing a lot of stuff. We knew that they were changing their castle. Their castle is growing to be this huge, ginormous thing, but it's not based on any one property. It's going to be called the Castle of Magical Dreams. I believe it's going to be the tallest, biggest castle that they've built to date. And they also announced that the Frozen Arendelle land that is coming to Hong Kong will also not have just one ride, which is the Frozen Ever After ride that we have at Epcot, but they'll also be getting a ride based on the Wandering Oaken store called Wandering Oaken's Sliding Sleighs. You can see over there on the right-hand side. It's very similar, I think, in terms to the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train attraction, and you're probably going to see a couple of the characters from the movies pop in and out of this ride. But it's a nice roller coaster addition to this beautiful Arendelle setting. I love kind of this beautiful landscape in the background between the castle. Some of the shops look to be over on the left-hand side. This walkway that goes over the water. A beautiful land that I hope, if this is the rendering, if they can make this come to life, this is going to be a very beautiful land over in Hong Kong Disney. And over in Shanghai Disney, we're going to get another opening of a land that's going to be Zootopia themed. If you didn't follow Zootopia, it was a huge hit in China, so it makes sense that a Zootopia themed land would come to China. This looks like it's going to be a lot of fun, but they didn't announce anything in particular for this land. It looks like this is maybe not one of those 2020 or 2021 releases. This might open up a few years after that, and they didn't want to let people down by saying what they were or weren't going to open, so instead they opted to just say, this is a land we're going to be opening. It's going to have shops, attractions, food, and that's about it. That's all they said. So they kept it real quiet on that side. Over in the chat, Darth Hamilton said, we need a Disney park in Canada. I actually was thinking one of the, like, they had the secret panel that ended up being the docu-series for Disney Plus, but I was actually thinking that they were going to start building some more immersive, interactive spaces, you know, all around the US and internationally, and that would bring more Disney, and that they were going to do more VR experiences, because those have done so well at Disneyland and Walt Disney World, but they're not bringing those VR experiences outward, so I'm sorry. Brittany said, showing the Spider-Man room art at D23 must have been awkward. Yeah, it was weird because at the panel, I wasn't sure if they were going to backtrack on the Spider-Man ride, but they're doubling down on the Spider-Man ride, which is interesting, and it makes me think that Disney might be secure in the fact that they can get the rights to Spider-Man back. But the idea that Spider-Man will be in Disneyland, California Adventure, and will be at Disneyland Paris at the new hotel, I mean, I guess. I don't know. Caleb said another cool thing about the Marvel Hotel, the TVs in the hotel will have complete access to Marvel Unlimited, so you can read comics all you want while chillaxing. And we've done a kind of co-branded thing with Marvel Unlimited before. We did a podcast a while back, and Marvel Unlimited, I'd never tried it before doing that, and Marvel Unlimited is fantastic. If you want to get into comics, and you've got like $10 to spare, like, jump into it. I actually think the first month is free, so why not jump in, read a couple of comics, old, new, whatever. Like, I went back and read a bunch of Scarlet Witch, which was fantastic. This is a great comic. Recommend it completely. Yeah, let's jump back into some stuff though. Over at the Disney Cruise Line, they announced a ton of stuff for that as well. Including they have 3 new ships coming, but they weren't giving away everything, and they didn't want to let people down because they don't know everything yet. So they announced the Disney Wish, which will be the 5th boat, and of course Rapunzel will be on the front of that ship. They showed this beautiful atrium, this 3-story atrium, and they talked about excursions into the Caribbean. So I'm assuming this is coming out of their port at Port Canaveral. Another ship, a fifth ship, and I'm assuming the sixth and seventh ships will probably come out in 2022 or 2023, but it looks like this fifth ship is going to be coming in 2021. And it's also going to be joined with a brand new island. They already have Castaway Cay. Now they're going to have this lighthouse point, and Joe Rohde is on board. He's working with several of the artists and local people on this island to come up with something really interesting and cool. I'm really loving some of the things he was talking about, some of the art that he was showcasing. And was Joe Rohde being involved with Alani not too long ago, I would really think that some of the charm and beauty and natural wonder that comes from Alani will probably come to this brand new lighthouse point. And I don't even want to go to Castaway Cay anymore. I'd rather just go here. So this might be, going on a cruise. This might be something that I wait out before we go to do something there. But there wasn't a lot of other details on the cruises, just because we know that there's stuff coming in years ahead, and they just, again, didn't want to disappoint people. I think they backtracked a lot on that. But then let's get to Walt Disney World. There was so much stuff coming to Walt Disney World. And I saw, first of all, let me just say this. For those people who were online and were super negative that they weren't going to get a nighttime parade at Walt Disney World or some of the other stuff, like Walt Disney World is getting so much. Like, they can't give you everything all at once. So be patient to those people who want a nighttime parade, or who want, new stuff at Animal Kingdom, or who want expansions to the Magic Kingdom. Don't worry, I'm sure those will be coming in the following years, but they were just trying to keep everything to being 2019, 2020, 2021 releases, so that they didn't have to worry about having to backtrack later. But let's talk a bit about this thing that they announced, which I believe is kind of their lashing back at of all of these people that have become travel agents for Disney over the past few years, that are have taken over the fandom. They get paid a little bit from Disney for booking those vacations for people, and they announced this new app for your phone called Disney Genie. And Disney Genie is allowing you to jump on your phone and basically figure out an itinerary that best works for you, whether you're a thrill seeker, or maybe your kids are in love with princesses. What kinds of things that you really like to do. It simplifies the research process for people who, especially people who've never been on that Walt Disney World vacation. It simplifies the process of learning about the Walt Disney World Resort and what could be the best fit for you and your family. So I think that this is something that they didn't really need, but it's something that they knew that they could have, because so many of these travel agents that are just Disney travel agents have popped up in the last 10 years. And so they know that there's a demand for something like this. So yeah, I think that this is the answer to that. I mean, looking at this, it says lowest forecasted wait for those time periods for whatever day that is. They're optimizing the days. It looks like here the Hendricks family is going to the Hollywood Studios park, and they're trying to figure out what their morning is looking like. This is a fantastic app, and I think it hopefully will add to some of the apps that they've already announced, and maybe they'll combine some of these apps together so that you don't have to download like 15 things for your phone. They can all work simultaneously together. We'll see about that. But so much more coming to Walt Disney World besides just an app, guys. We don't know a year. We don't know a date. I'm assuming in the next 2 years or so, but we are going to get something that they announced 2 years ago, and that is the Star Wars Hotel, aka the Galactic Star Cruiser, aka the Halcyon. They announced that basically the way this will work is that you will come up to the front entrance of this kind of port, right? Just like any other Disney hotel, except for when you walk in, you will get into an elevator, and this elevator will take you into space. It'll be like a space pod that shoots up, it blasts off into space, and connects with this Halcyon building, and that will then let you enter into the hotel. And the hotel, all the windows are just screens that looking into space. So there's nothing in this hotel that looks to the outside. It is simply completely immersive. And then the idea here is that you will get to spend 2 days and 2 nights aboard the Star Cruiser. And you have to think of this like one of the cruise ships. Don't think of it like a regular hotel. Think of it like a cruise ship. So the amount that you are going to pay, which I've heard a bunch of numbers thrown out. Right now, the most realistic number I can think of is about $1,000 a person. It might be a little bit more, a little bit less, but about $1,000 a person from what I've heard through the rumor mill. But that also doesn't just include your sleeping there. It includes all of the activities that you get to do on board the Star Cruiser. It gets all of your meals. I'm pretty sure that doesn't include alcohol like any cruise line would. So $1,000 will give you the chance to experience everything all in one. You don't have to worry about, upcharges to anything else. It's basically, this is the $1,000 price tag that you'll pay for this whole thing, including you'll be able to, wake up in the morning and your whole family will get together and you'll be able to get into lightsaber training, which is amazing. We see a lot of stuff that gets lightsaber battles, but I love this lightsaber training. I'm not sure how they're going to pull it off, but that is something that I think is really cool. I think that that's really exciting. And they also, said things like what they said for Galaxy's Edge, which I hope that they can pull off at the hotel, which is whatever you do within the hotel may, enforce the good guy or bad guy persona, the light and dark side, and whether or not Kylo Ren will be coming for you or Rey will be coming for you. And it did very much look like this is set within the Galaxy's Edge, newer era of Star Wars. So you're not going to see Darth Vader. You're not going to see some of the older characters. There's no Han. There's no Leia. There's no Luke. This is very much a Rey and Kylo, and Chewbacca will be there. But this is very much within the new Star Wars realm, which I'm totally for. That's totally fine with me. I know some of the older fans wish they could bring back Leia, but sorry guys, that's not happening. But they didn't announce any official dates of that opening yet, although I would say they're probably a year to 2 years out before people can start making reservations for that. They also announced that they are still working on the Rise of the Resistance attraction that will open at Disneyland and Walt Disney World later on this year. They showed a few clips of that. It looks a little bit more that Indiana Jones kind of immersive ride experience if you've been to Disneyland on the Indiana Jones ride, which I'm all for. I like what I've seen of the attractions, actually the Avengers attraction that's coming to Disneyland, and also the Smuggler's Run attraction that is currently open at Galaxy's Edge. But I'm worried that they will at one point become really screen dependent like Universal is, and so I'm glad to see that Rise of the Resistance will not be as dependent on screens like Smuggler's Run currently is. And then kind of a out of nowhere announcement, which was really cool, is that we were getting a brand new Cirque du Soleil show. We knew that a new Cirque du Soleil show was coming, but they said that it will be opening this coming April. And they've worked with Disney Imagineering and Walt Disney Animation to come up with acts and a show that is going to tell the story of animation, that's going to tell the story of this artistry. And what they showed was extremely beautiful. I'm very excited about this new Cirque show. I never saw Lanuba, and I didn't really understand why Lanuba was at Walt Disney World. Like, I understand the kind of kid-friendly idea behind it, but it was never really something that was overly exciting to me because it wasn't as Disney as it could have been, or it wasn't centered towards Epcot, or it wasn't centered towards Animal Kingdom. It was just kind of its own thing. And so this being very Disney-centric and especially about the artistry of animation, which I think a lot of people on this YouTube channel know that I get really excited when we talk about hand-drawn animation and the artistry that's behind animation. And they worked with Eric Goldberg, who has been with the Disney company for years and years and years. I believe since the late 1970s he's been around. So, he's been there through the hand-drawn animation days and through the computer animation days. So he's known it all, he's seen it all, and he's excited to work with these people. I was excited to see him on stage with the Cirque du Soleil people talking about this brand new show. But what do you guys think? What's going on here? We've got a bunch of people kind of sitting in the chat, and hello to those who have not said hello to. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me late on a Sunday night before work or before school. I appreciate all of you coming and saying hi to me. Brittany said, I'm going to need to hit up Hong Kong Disneyland after everything's built. Hong Kong, Shanghai, Tokyo, make that Asian trip happen. That's what I gotta say to you. Pretty Girl says that price set me back light years from ever making it there. To tell you the truth, though, when you think about a cruise, like if you look at a cruise, it's about $1,000 a person, to do some of those like 5-night cruises. And this is only a 2-day type of cruise with the Star Wars hotel, but it's extremely immersive, extremely interactive. And it's very niche towards something that, you've got to really love. So if you're a Star Wars fan, that's something you should go for. Caleb said, oh snap, the poster for WandaVision just got released. Very underwhelming. Definitely got that 50s vibe. I haven't seen it yet. Caleb said, I miss the old stunt events at Disney parks. I remember as kids seeing the stunt show, the Indiana Jones stunt experience, where they acted out scenes from the movies. The Hollywood Studios park was so cool back in the day, and I know it's something different now, and we'll talk about Epcot in a minute and how it's becoming different. But I'm okay without. If you've been on the Indiana Jones ride, the stunt show seems not as great, to tell you the truth. But let's jump back into the last bit of news here. The big, giant news piece. There's so much to talk about. They're changing so much at Epcot, guys. This is insane. Talking about Hollywood Studios has changed so much over the years because it was a working studio and then it wasn't, and so they had to figure out what the park was. And for Epcot, it's been figuring out what it is for quite a few years. It's been figuring out, is Future World more Tomorrowland? Is it about innovations? Is it about being eco-friendly? Is it about saving the planet? Future World just didn't really know what it was, besides it being like really 80s, early 90s. And now they've decided just to nix Future World altogether. And this brand new map kind of says that it's cut off there, but up top is the World Showcase, which will stay exactly as is. They're not really adding any major lands, although we will talk about some new things that are coming to World Showcase. But Future World is basically being split up into 3 lands, or 3. This will be 4 neighborhoods in total, is what they call them, neighborhoods. There's World Discovery, World Celebration, and World Nature. This makes sense because the left side, this World Discovery side of the park that you see anyways, was always more tech-based. That's where you have Mission Space and Test Track over there already. And World Nature makes sense because that's where the Land and the Seas pavilions were already as well. But this World Celebration is interesting because they were tearing down Interventions West, so clearly that was no longer going to be there. And then you have Spaceship Earth, which was has always kind of been an ever-changing attraction on what it's about. But now they're talking about Spaceship Earth being this new centerpiece for storytelling. The attraction is going to change its narration and be about storytelling rather than being about the history of communication, which is what its current narrative is. And so they'll be changing some of the scenes throughout Spaceship Earth. They won't be changing the ride and how it operates, so you'll still get on that Omnimover and go, spiraling upward into Spaceship Earth before coming back down. But the story now will follow this light, and you'll be able to go through the attraction with some new scenes, with some rejuvenated older scenes, to tell you the story of storytelling, the story of storytelling. I guess that's weird to say. But something that really, I mean, this hit home for me. I'm a huge Walt Disney guy, and they said right behind Spaceship Earth is going to be Dreamer's Point. And at Dreamer's Point, there will be this statue, this brand new statue of Walt Disney looking out at the old future world, looking out towards the World Showcase Lagoon. And looking at the project that he never got to build, and obviously it's not the city of tomorrow. This isn't a place where everybody lives. It's a theme park. But to be able to have Walt Disney within the last project he ever worked on is really cool and really beautiful and touching. And this was something I felt like for me, it was just like, yes, I really, really want this. I really need this. And he'll actually be looking towards what I think is the coolest building that they have that is going to be added to any of the parks, and that is the new Festival Center building at I pretty much like near the old Club Cool area. I'm going to say that's probably where it's going to be. There's obviously this walkway underneath. The second level is going to be this this kind of festival center. So anytime they have a new festival, this will be the place where you can go probably learn how to do some gardening or learn from a top chef and take some classes. And then on the third level, which I will assume will be a paid level, we'll have amazing views of the brand new nighttime show. And I'm assuming that will have a space for like dinner parties or dessert parties up there, you know, to pay $50 to go up, be in this kind of like floating garden area and look over World Showcase Lagoon and watch the nighttime show. This is something that is beautiful. It's cool to look at. I love this this building. And speaking of really cool buildings, I've always loved the Wonders of Life building. It is now becoming the Play building. It's actually been the Festival Center for a few years now, but they're turning this whole building into the Play building. And the Play building is going to kind of be like Disney Quest from what I'm getting. There's going to be a lot of interactive AR and VR experiences, and you're going to be able to interact with some of your favorite Disney characters and some other IPs. So for those of you who are very nervous about the amount of intellectual properties and franchises that were going into Epcot, I feel like they've kind of contained a lot of them here in this Play Pavilion, which is going to be part of that discovery, that world discovery area. And I feel like this will be like the space where kids can really, enjoy Epcot. Epcot's always been more of the adult park, and I feel like this is going to be very much that kid-centric thing. And it'll be right across from the new Guardians. I don't have a graphic for this one. They're right across from the new Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind attraction. That's the new name for the Guardians of the Galaxy attraction, which would be a roller coaster that can do 360 degrees, so that they can show you, what you need to look at. But it will also be the first roller coaster that Disney has built that launches backwards, and that's why it's called Cosmic Rewind. Interesting. Not my favorite thing from this panel, but I do love the Guardians of the Galaxy characters and the movies, so I will probably end up falling in love with this one. Also, on the Discovery side of the park, we're going to get this brand new Space 220 restaurant, which they announced 2 years ago. That has an official name now. Like the Halcyon, you'll board an elevator, and that elevator will take you 220 stories or 220 miles out into space. That's why it's called Space 220 for this restaurant. Interesting concept. This will be maybe something I want to check out. World Showcase is full of food, so I'm not sure I ever want to leave World Showcase when I'm at Epcot to go eat somewhere. Not 100% sure on that one. Over on the World Nature side, though, they announced this a few days ago, and that is the Journey of Water, which will be a brand new walkthrough attraction. Think of this more like the Maharaja Trek or something similar to that over at Animal Kingdom. We'll without the animals, of course. I don't know where they're going with this attraction, but I love the artwork. I love what they're trying to do here with adding Moana in, without really adding in the characters, but just adding this kind of slight idea that we're connected spiritually to the waters of the world. I think that's a really cool idea. I don't know. I'm really into that. Maybe we'll see. We'll see what happens with this one. The other things that are going on over in World Showcase are going to be a couple of new movies. We're going to get a brand new film, a 360 film in China as well as in Canada. And also on that nature side, in the Land Pavilion, we're going to get a new film as well. So 3 new films. I believe... I do totally fine when the pictures are up, and then when it's just me on camera, I yawn. It's a nervous thing, I guess. But 3 new films between China, Canada, and the Land Pavilion. And then there's, in France, going to be a brand new The Impressions of France movie that is going to go away, and a brand new Beauty and the Beast sing-along movie is going to go in there. So I guess 4 new movies are going in. And I believe all of those are opening up in 2020 or even before that. So those will be coming in very, very quickly. And then they do have a brand new show that's coming out that's going to be temporary called Epcot Forever. Disneyland, for the 60th celebration, had like a year-long show called Disneyland Forever. So I think of it kind of similarly, where it's a tribute to the Epcot of the past. They played some music from the show, really beautiful, really kind of haunting stuff. And then they announced their next big show that will happen on World Showcase Lagoon, which is Harmony Us. They emphasize the U-S at the end of Harmonious, which will be the biggest nighttime show they've ever put together, which is saying a lot because a lot of their nighttime shows have been huge already. I think that this will be really cool, especially if you get that like hanging garden view. If you want to pay into that, I'm assuming you'll have to pay into that to get up there. There's no way that they're going to let people on that 3rd story for free to watch this show. There's got to be like a price tag that goes with that. Sorry, guys. And then the last big thing that they announced for Epcot was the addition, and a lot of people said, and Braden from Mickey Views, a friend of the channel, said that they were going to add in a carousel to the UK pavilion that would be Mary Poppins themed. And that's been kind of a rumor for a while that there was going to be a Mary Poppins themed carousel going in. They actually announced that they're going to add more land to the UK pavilion, and that they are going to not just build a Mary Poppins attraction, which they didn't say what it is yet, but they're going to build a Cherry Tree Lane, the street that the Banks kids, the Banks family lives on, and this was amazing. I'm so excited for Cherry Tree Lane. Adding Mary Poppins to the parks just seems like a no-brainer. Adding this beautiful London backdrop to the UK pavilion makes total sense. Love this idea. This is probably coming in 2022, 2023. Maybe the Cherry Tree Lane will be open before then, but the actual attraction will come later. But this is extremely exciting. For those people who say that they're not interested in intellectual properties coming into Epcot, I feel like this is something that they're going to jump on board and be all about. I think this is something that people will get excited for. But Epcot is this big, ever-changing park. Let me go back to this this like neighborhood map, because it's impressive. It's cool to think like this is what Epcot will be. Like just look at that. Like, it is so cool. And I'm a fan of Epcot. I'm a fan of old Epcot. I love old Epcot. I love the idea of education and learning and technology and world culture, and all of those things still kind of exist here in this new landscape. You've got this World Discovery that's going to be talking more about technologies, World Celebration, which is much more, geared towards storytelling and Walt Disney's storytelling and his vision. And then you have this World Nature idea, which is so eco-friendly and, wanting to help, preserve the planet and our role on the planet. And then you have World Showcase, which is still about world culture. It's going to be amazing. It's going to simply be amazing. I'm all about this brand new Epcot. A lot of what got announced today, I'm like 90 to 95% on board for. Love a lot of these things. But before we end this show, before we say goodbye to the D23 Expo, what are some of the things that you guys are into or excited about? And also, let me just say really quick, I know a bunch of you are patrons on Patreon, and thank you guys so much for being. But if you're not, go click the link down below to our Patreon page. We're going to be sending out really soon these awesome stickers to all of our patrons. So if you're interested, for just $1 a month, you can definitely get one of these stickers and a thank you card from us, and so much more. We've got some cool podcast stuff going up. I'm actually just about to put up one of the live talks that I did about the psychology of Pixar. That's going to go up. I'm going to try and get that up a little bit later tonight or tomorrow. So guys, help us out on Patreon. Join us. Be a part of this community. Really, it's been awesome the last couple of days seeing Angie do this and Shannon do this, and now myself getting to talk about the D23 Expo. 2 years ago, we were at the D23 Expo. And we did go live a few times, and we got to talk about stuff, but, staying home this time around, following all the news, being able to kind of chat with people online and talk about what's going on in the world of Disney. Normally we talk about Disney history and things that have already come out for Disney. We don't normally talk about the future of Disney, but when the D23 Expo comes around, we have to. We just have to, right, guys? Anyways, thank you so much all for joining me. I appreciate the time, the love, the energy. You guys staying up late. Those people on the East Coast, it's nearing 11 p.m. on a work night, on a school night. Thank you guys so much for staying up with me. Any other thoughts, questions, and whatnot? Darth said, I'm definitely going to support you guys on Patreon. I got to get a job so I can support Super Carlin Brothers too. Super Carlin Brothers, we've had acquaintances with them for, I think, going back almost 3 years now. Those guys are great. And yeah, if anybody has thoughts about anything that happened at the D23 Expo over the last few days, definitely leave your thoughts. I've been keeping up with all of it, even though I haven't been presenting any of it. Pretty Girl said, I'm just so ready for Disney Plus to be out. That psychology video sounds great. Yeah, I did this whole panel at the Denver Comic-Con about the psychology of Pixar. That is going to be up on Patreon. I talked about a couple of the movies. I actually talked about my personal story as well, and my connection with Pixar, and what I love about Pixar, and kind of the things I've taken and learned from Pixar and their psychology. So definitely check that out. There'll also be another one that goes up maybe next week or the week after, which will be about how Star Wars was impacted by the Vietnam War. So again, I've been doing these kind of live talks in the Denver area, and I'll definitely throw them up on Patreon when I can, because I know a couple of people have asked when those will go up. They will be going up, and I'll be doing more of them. I know I'm going to be talking about some other stuff coming up in the next few months. I've got some plans to do some live talks, and those will go up on Patreon. So please check us out, patreon.com/network1901. You can click the link down below. You can get one of these awesome stickers. I appreciate it. And yeah, thank you guys so much. I appreciate your time. Super excited about the parks, super excited about the movies, excited about Disney Plus. We're going to have a video out this Tuesday, which will give a brief overview of everything awesome that happened at the D23 Expo, and look for more live shows coming up. We'll be doing Disney Trivia again next month here on the channel, And as always, guys, keep on moving, people. You guys are awesome. I love you so much. Thank you for supporting us. Yeah, take care.